Hi guys, welcome to today's video. So today here I'm in the kitchen making cajeta sauce, which is essentially like a caramel sauce made from goat's milk. So on the stove top here I have 6 cups of milk mixed in with a cup and a half of sugar. And what I'm trying to do here is just bring it up to a simmer. You want to be sure not to do this too quickly, or of course you risk the possibility of scorching your milk at the base of your pot, as well as you want to make sure you have a thick enough stainless steel pot, because if you do not, then of course you increase your chances of burning your milk at the bottom here. So this cajeta sauce, it really is a extremely basic recipe in terms of ingredients. So all you need is 6 cups of milk, like we have in here, along with a cup and a half of sugar, and then the third ingredient that you add in here a little bit later in the process is just a little bit of baking soda. So really it is just 3 simple ingredients to make this cajeta caramel sauce. If you were to go ahead and try to make this with, say, like cow's milk, I of course never have, but from my understanding, it's just going to have a little bit different flavor and texture. So this is specifically designed to be made with goat's milk. And we have the luxury of, I say luxury, a lot of people will be like, luxury? That doesn't sound like a luxury to me. But we have the luxury of milking our goats here ourselves. So we just, luckily enough, when we want to make things like this, we can just go into our fridge and pull from our supply to make things like this. So we feel extremely grateful for that. I cannot tell you. Yesterday, this takes a little bit. You gotta just be patient with this process here. Kayla, no messing with the metal. Okay, that's loud. So you gotta be patient with this process here. Yesterday, I'm like, you know what? I hate spending like hours back to back, day to day in the kitchen. I love cooking for my family. It's just like a blessing to our family to be able to feed our kids good, healthy, nourishing food. But honestly, I would not want to spend like day after day 3 hours every day processing um, down milk into a product when I can instead just wait until we have a full fridge of milk and then like 8 times the recipe. So that's what I try to do when I make cheese, when I make yogurt, whatever. I try to do literally like 7 gallons at a time, which I know sounds crazy, but it's it's necessary. So yesterday I tried to go ahead and make 6 gallons of this. You know, start with 6 gallons of milk. And that was like 20 something cups of sugar. Anyways, my big stainless steel pots, they are not like great enough quality. So the bottoms of them are pretty thin. And what happened is I ended up basically making caramel curds. And 3 hours into the process, I finally admitted defeat. That was like so thankful. That doesn't happen often to me because I'm like, I do not feel like I have free time in my life to just wash 3 hours down the drain. Well, you know, in the kitchen, taking care of baby, you name it. So I have my baking soda mixture here ready to go. All it is a half a teaspoon of baking soda along with 1 tablespoon of water. And in this, you want to make sure you have a big enough pot with enough space, because when we add this baking soda into our milk mixture, it's going to rise your level of your milk. It's going to create a reaction where the milk is going to foam up. So if you have it in a small pot where the level of your milk is almost like level with the top of your pot, you're probably going to overflow. And that would be a huge disappointment. That would be a really big disappointment. So try to, of course, avoid that. So you can see here, as I'm trying to actually bring it up to a simmer, I'm stirring this pretty frequently. I probably tend to be more on the overcautious side. I just don't want to scorch the milk. Okay, so now that you can see I have this up to a simmer, I want to go ahead and add in the baking soda solution. So when adding this, you want to make sure you add this nice and slow. I'm just going to go ahead and add that, but you can see how that's really rose up the level of the milk a little bit. So once you add in your baking soda, you want to keep this at like a simmer or a light boil without, of course, boiling it off too hot, too fast. So as you get further along here, you will see like the milk has really started to change color. You can see that the bubbles are almost like thicker bubbles. You're starting to see a much thicker consistency. At this point, you can start to see that it is moving along quite well, and this product will be done fairly shortly. At this point, we are just waiting to get that consistency which we desire. I'm going to keep going. A good way to test out your cajeta, the consistency, is just picking some up and letting it drip off your spoon. Here you can see it is still quite wet, almost per se on us. So we aren't done yet. We're going to keep letting this simmer down. Another thing you can be doing throughout the process of making this is kind of like scraping down the sides. I've been doing that throughout the process here. So when you decide to stop this process, it really is kind of up to you. You know, you could probably go a little bit longer, get a little bit thicker. It just really depends upon what consistency you're looking for. But here you can see it's really starting to get that slow drip here. And it's just kind of a lot more like a caramel consistency. You can see I have really nice, airy, almost foamy looking bubbles. So at this point, I'm going to just turn it off. So now that this is done, I'm just going to let it cool down some before I go ahead and jar it up. I'm probably just going to store this batch in a jar in the refrigerator because we just ran out of what we had. This last batch that I made, it lasted in the refrigerator, well, until it disappeared basically, and that was for 6 months probably, is when I made it last, so it'll store for quite a while. It also freezes very well. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Feel free to drop any comments or questions below. I look forward to hearing from you guys. And as always, thank you for visiting our channel. And please subscribe below if you want to continue to be notified to follow along with our family and all the things.